appreciate y'all chilling and politicking and paying attention because it's real vital. You heard me? Trench Talk TV. So that's what it's gonna sound like. It ain't gonna sound like nothing sugarcoat. It ain't gonna sound like what you want to hear. It's gonna be Trench Talk.
Gotcha. I'm gonna take it back to high school. You in high school in Baton Rouge. You going to Woodlawn.
Right.
Was it somewhere in this period you met a friend that became very important into your, I guess, music success? Javon.
Yeah, well, shit, I met Vaughn in 6th grade.
Okay. Oh, y'all childhood friends.
Yeah. He lived in Urbanville too.
I got you.
Yeah. So when I came back to when I moved back to Louisiana and in middle school, 6th grade, that's where I met Vaughn at, and me and him just clicked. That was my dog, like, and just over the years, me and him got close. I already had that rap dream. He wasn't really fucking with the rap shit at that time, but I started like going to his house after school, like getting off the bus at his house, and we'd be like watching MTV Raps and Rap City and shit, and listening to all the whatever little tape we could get or whatever, and that's how I got him like into writing and shit. And like I remember one day we used to have like a little technique to record. Like we had like a little bitty radio where you could like press record and it'll record you, you know what I'm saying? And so we'll put his mama had like a big ass stereo, like with big ass speakers. That bitch was raw. So we'll put like the beat in the big stereo, turn that bitch up and put the little radio by the speaker and just rap our rap, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's how we recorded like little tapes and shit back then. And I remember one day I was rapping, and then I stopped and he just start freestyling some shit, and ever since then, like it was.
Yeah, was partners in crime.
That was it, bro. That was it. And nigga was so talented, you know what I'm saying? It's like like how crazy is that? Like for me and this dude to click with each other like we did, outside of some music shit, didn't have nothing to do with no music. We just was tight, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually to find out that he really was as talented in the music as he was, you know what I'm saying?
You all doing the music thing, especially at that age, I'm pretty sure money became a need at some point, being
right.
that you all were trying to further a music career.
Yeah.
Had y'all jumped off the porch then? What were y'all doing for finances?
Man, well, we was still young, bro. We was still kids, like, so you gotta think, like, we really didn't get into like like moving around and shit until a little later on, like, and that's when we start fucking with Bleed and Loc, and so it's kind of like with the rap shit, like we came into like a situation. You see what I'm saying? Like Loc already was doing what he was doing with his label and shit, and Bleed brung us to, cause I knew Bleed I had some older cousins that went to school with Bleed and shit. And so when, like I was saying, when I first came back from California, and they found out that I was rapping and shit, he was the only other nigga that they knew that rap. It's like, oh man, we need to hook you up with our partner. We used to call him Tank. Like, man, we need to hook you up with Tank, cause he be going to studios and shit, So I was like, yeah, man, hook me up with that nigga, cause like I say, I'm thinking, fuck, it's over with for the rap shit, you know what I'm saying? So this, I'm like, 11, 12 years old, I used to call Bleed every day. Like I get home from school, just call that nigga like, man, check out this rap I wrote, like that. And then, him and Loc, eventually when Loc started doing this C-Loc Records thing, was like 94, I believe. And that shit kind of started taking off. Then, Bleed brought us into the little fold, like me, Vaughn, and my partner Happy, the one who make the beats. So by the time this started happening, we in high school now. So you see what I'm saying? It's like a period of time.
About a five-year period.
Yeah, it's like a period of time where we go from being like still little kids to, okay, now we in high school.
You say C-Loc was grooming y'all?
Basically.
Gotcha.
Like that's what I'm saying. Basically, by the time we got to that point where it's like we finna jump out the porch, we with them now.
He
See
was
what
there,
I'm saying?
he was there to catch you, and,
Right.
and he had a legitimate rap situation going.
Right. So it ain't like we never had to do nothing to pay for our studio time or nothing like that. It was like Loc had the studio, Loc had the, you know, everything that we needed already set up. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of like how that shit went with that, you know.
You, Javon, Bleed, C-Loc got y'all in the studio. Your first time on Wax was on C-Loc's album, Whatever?
Yeah, Whatever. It was a song called Player Haters. It was me and Vaughn. You know, it wasn't it was my favorite song, you know what I'm saying? But it still was like cool because, you know, fuck it, we finna get heard, you know what I'm saying? That's the first time we got heard by us being on, you know. I just feel like at that time I was like, man, I wish we, you know, could have got on like another song, you know, a little, you know, cause that beat we was on was just like laid back guitars and shit. And but yeah, so that was the first little time we was on a record that got put out and shit. So, you know, it was like a big milestone for us, cause
How did that feel when they came out? Because at that time, C-Loc, in my opinion, you correct me if I'm wrong, he was in a sense doing in Baton Rouge what Master P was doing in New Orleans around this time, correct?
Most definitely, he was that nigga. I think even well, I guess yeah, it was like the same time like P, cause like if you think about it, like P ain't really like jump off down here till that Body Body came out. You know what I'm saying? So when Body Body came out, that was like 95, I believe, which is the same year as when that album Whatever came out. But Loc had the other album, Who's Gonna Ride, that was like 94 or something. So he was doing this shit before I even knew about P. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So yeah, that was like major. Like it was major because it was like, man, this nigga, you know, he, you know, got records in the store, and you know, it was like official. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, for people who wasn't really, you know, moving around back then, they don't really understand like how significant certain little things is, because now everything is just so different.
So accessible these days.
Right. But back then, if you had a real record in the store, like you could go to Blockbuster Music and buy your record or whatever, like that shit was major, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
In 1997, I believe, C-Loc dropped the album Concentration Camp compilation that
Right.
you just happened to have an opportunity to be a part of.
Right.
That had some major artists on it around that time, remember?
Right. Right. Well, that right there, like, kind of like really kicked everything off for us, like, because of course they had the song, you know, A Fool, which later became known as How You Do That. And that song, like, as soon as that album came out, that song just blew up. You know what I'm saying? That bitch was just out of here, you know. And then me and Vaughn had a song on that called Daredevils, which, to kind of go back to what I was talking about a little while ago when I was talking about the song Player Haters, like the song Daredevils was more like,
That was more on your type of time.
yeah, that was more like what I saw, what I wanted us to, you know, how I wanted us to be heard. You know what I'm saying? That bitch was hard, you know, and you know, it's a classic to a lot of people to this day. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that was you know a little look for us. I remember we had did like a remix and shit, and they started playing it on the radio on Juice Man on 1460 started playing that bitch. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first time we kind of started getting a little more exposure and being heard more.
I want to ask you this. At this point, for you being, once being a kid, this being a dream and a passion for you,
Right.
had it clicked in your head that you were doing rap business, or you still going about it with it being a passion?
Bro, it's crazy you asked that. Like, it took a lot of years for me to realize what the fuck I really was doing. Like I was doing shit that like you say was A&R and you know shit like that I didn't even know I was doing that shit, cause I was just doing what we was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like Bleed album for example, My Balls and My Word. Like when Bleed signed with Priority, and he had to turn the album in. He was like going through some shit in his personal life at that time, so like he'd come record, but then he'd like, you know, kind of disappear for some days and shit, and we'd have to be looking for him. He was going through a lot with his kid's mama and all that, you know, just personal stuff. So by the time it was time to turn that album in, the next day, the album wasn't finished. You know what I'm saying? So Loc called me and was like, "Hey Max, I'ma come get you, put you in the studio with Happy, and y'all finish Bleed album tonight." You know what I'm saying? We gotta turn the bitch in tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool.
You was called to duty.
Right, you know, and it's like at that time I didn't know what the fuck, how major that really was, but in reality, when you look back at it, it's like, man, like, you know, I was doing a lot of jobs in you know, at a young age, you know what I'm saying? So
The silver lining in that though, I'm pretty sure all those skills that you developed that early, that ended up being real beneficial
fucking
on the
right.
back end.
Bro, fucking right. It was priceless. It was like university. It was like college. You know what I'm saying? It was like boot camp or whatever. You know, like, yeah, I'm picking up. And then the thing about me too, like, I always used to, like, I'm the type of nigga, I'm gonna ask you a million questions. Like, if you doing something that I wanna do, I'm gonna come like, man, what that do? Like if I want to shoot something, I ask you, why the camera do this? Why you got it like that? What this button do? You know, I want to learn.
From
the
inside out.
Yeah, so I always, you know, I watch Loc, what Loc was doing and how he was doing it. You know,
You was a sponge.
right. So yeah, to answer your question, brother, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing till way later, but I realized, like, you know, man, I'm, you know, A&R and executive producing shit and all that, you know, at a young age, you know what I'm saying?
The compilation come out sometime after that. C-Loc ends up getting a deal, and C-Loc and Bleed end up getting a deal off that.
Right. Bleed got a deal, like an artist deal he signed with Priority. Loc ended up getting like the same kind of deal Master P had for No Limit for C-Loc Records. So it was like a distribution, promotion and distribution deal. It's called a P&D deal back then. So yeah, it was all off of that song, How You Do That there, bro. Like that bitch blew up, like I was saying, and you know, P eventually, when he did I'm About It, the soundtrack, they did like a remix to it and put it on. It was a single on the I'm About It soundtrack, and then that bitch blew up, you know, nationwide. You know what I'm saying? Then Bleed signed with Priority and Loc signed C-Loc Records to Priority.
You know, I'm so crazy, and I'm pretty sure it's probably a lot of other people out there. Mm-hmm. For a long time, I thought that was Master P's song.
Right. I mean, you know, if you wasn't from down here, you know, tuned into the underground, you know, the first time a lot of people heard it nationwide, it was Master P. You know what I'm saying? But it's really Bleed's song.
Sometime after the deal comes, the group end up breaking up.
Right.
Care to dabble in what led to the breakup?
I mean, it was just, you know, same old shit, bro. Like,
young guys figuring it out.
Yeah, we all young, we kids, bro. We all fucking, you know, and we, you know, like me and Vaughn, we was way younger than everybody else. You know, Loc and them was grown men, you know what I'm saying? But they still was young, like they like niggas. I look at niggas their age 9, be like, man, y'all kids still. But back then, it's like they was, you know, who we was looking to for the answers, you know, and fuck, they ain't had the answers because they ain't never did this shit either. So you know, it's just same old shit, bro. First time niggas, you know, get into a situation and you just trying to maneuver through that shit. And then you got people egos and shit don't go how you think it should go, or you don't get what you feel like you should have got. But in reality, you know, it ain't really, a lot of shit don't be what it seems. But people who don't know, you know what I'm saying? So
You don't know until you know.
right. So you know what I'm saying? You might think, man, this nigga got $1 million and I'm broke. But in reality, he ain't getting no fucking $1 million. It don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, to make a long story short, yeah, but everybody just kind of